Passion. Such an abstract word, but we all know what it is. It's the thing that makes your heart beat faster. It's the thing that makes the grades great. It's the thing that makes work feel like not work. And although the word is very familiar, for most people the biggest question they struggle to answer in their life is: what's my passion and how the bloody hell can I find it? And it's freaking logical, as it seems like every successful person can't stop talking about it.
I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love.
People talk about the word passion or purpose.
Right.
And the truth is,
I believe that I found my passion, but it took me years to figure it out, paired with some very hard lessons, including spending 2 years building a company and then calling it quits. But more on that later. I did eventually find my passion, and I will share my story of how I did it, so that you maybe can find it too, which would be incredible. But the funny thing is that the start of this story was far from humble or incredible. So by now you're probably familiar with my origin story. It was 2021 and it all began with me deciding to quit my full-time job, with little vision of what I exactly wanted to do with my life. I mean, I thought I knew. I wanted to be filthy rich. I wanted to never work for a boss again, because then I would be happy and I would be able to do what I wanted, when I wanted, wherever I wanted. And then the question of course was: how? Well, I realized it should be something I enjoy, because if you find something you love, it will motivate and fulfill you. And obviously, because it motivates and fulfills you, the probability of you sticking to it and not quitting increases by a huge amount. And that then would lead to a higher chance of actually succeeding. And looking at that information, it became clear to me that all I needed was to discover something I truly loved doing. So I immediately started searching for an answer to the burning question: how do you find something you will love doing? How do you find your passion? And that's when I learned my first lesson. Passion is not found. It just isn't. It's not some object waiting around the corner for you to pick up. It's not going to fall out of the sky or be delivered to your front door with a useful note on it that says, "This is your passion," and then solves all of your life's troubles. And I like to compare this misunderstanding to finding love. People often think that falling in love is also this magical Disney moment, where you're standing at the airport minding your own business when a stranger bumps into you. Your tickets slip from your hand, but the stranger quickly picks them up. While he does it, your eyes meet, and in that fleeting moment, it felt as if the entire world stopped spinning, and fate finally aligned after all these miserable years. That's just Disney and Matthew McConaughey creating all these unrealistic expectations inside your brain. It just isn't realistic. Like, even Matthew McConaughey has to have morning breath. Or he doesn't. I mean, this guy might be perfect. And if you want to find love, for too many reasons to count, it is highly recommended you find peace with yourself first. Which is a lot of work. And in addition, you need to figure out which characteristics you desire in a partner, and especially those you wish to avoid. And then, if you want to be efficient, you need to figure out where you can find this type of person. And spoiler alert, often it isn't the club you've been visiting for the last 3 years. But let's say a miracle happens and you have the magic Disney moment. You meet each other, have the first date, slowly fall in love, and you'll live happily ever after. Right? Well, happily ever after? My freaking ass. Falling in love is the easy part. The real work comes after that. I mean, finding someone often requires you to do some work, but a good relationship is not discovered. It is built with sweat and tears and visits to places you would never go to, but you just do it for a ride, yeah. Just a whole shebang. The point being, it demands effort and work. And the same goes for your passion. It isn't this magical thing that drops on your front door. It's not something that if you get lucky you suddenly discover it or suddenly find it. It requires actual work. And you need to do the work to find it. You need to do not physical, but internal work. And don't click away, I'm also a skeptic. I'm on your side, but please stick with me for just a little bit, okay? So, internal work. Why? Because there's not one answer. There's not one size fits all for passion that applies just to everyone. Why not? Because as humans, we're all individuals. We all have different interests. We have different environments and different circumstances. And we all have different things that fulfill us. To elaborate, my dad hates Oppenheimer and loves Mac 2. Complete psycho if you ask me, but it's just what he likes. He's unique, he's his own individual. And you are too. So if you think logical, there's not one answer that will fit for us all. Which also means that your favorite TikTok guy or girl can't give you your answer. No one can do this work for you, except you for yourself. Okay, so I get it. I'm unique and I need to do the work. But what the bloody hell is internal work? So there are actually 4 crucial points you need to consider when you're trying to figure out your passion. And figuring out these 4 things about yourself is in this case the internal work. Starting with point number 1, passion exploration. And this is all about asking yourself questions like, what gets me excited? When did work feel easy to me? What activities give me energy? And what fulfills me in life? Simply ask yourself, what is it that gets me excited about life? And to give an example, you could like video games, writing, sports, or just reading a good fiction book. And after those questions, you can move on to point number 2, which is decoding your brain. So first you need to understand that our brains are wired in very different ways. And you need to try and understand how your own mind operates. So ask yourself questions like, what makes my brain or mind tick? And what activities bring satisfaction to my brain? Do you like to do creative work? Or do you like to solve problems? Or do you like to build things up from scratch? And the list goes on. So basically, what activities does your brain enjoys itself occupying with? So I like programming, right? But the reason I really love it is because it's just logical, orderly, and I can build things from the ground up, which all perfectly aligns with the neurological part of my brain. But let's really quick move on to point number 3. Find body harmony. And here you need to figure out the physiological rhythm of your body. Do you like routines or do you like things to be more dynamic? Do you like to wake up early or do you like to sleep in? Are you a person that prefers a traditional 9-to-5 job? Or do you enjoy working 3 consecutive 18-hour days with the rest of the week off? So let's for example say you're a writer and you like to write stories. Do you prefer the solitude of the woods for 6 days, completely isolated from the entire world? Or do you like to write in a busy coffee place, always surrounded by some background noise? And notice that in both cases the person and the brain likes to do creative work. But the way the work is executed could be totally different. On to the last and final point, social and environmental dynamics. And this is all about finding out your own social nature. Do you like to work in teams? Or do you like to work alone? Do you like to be managed and told what to do? Or do you want more freedom? Ask yourself, what's your preferred reporting structure? So it's very important you align these 4 points. And to illustrate, let me give a great example. I love storytelling, videography, and building something up from scratch. It's part of the reason why making videos and editing is perfect for me. And because of this, a lot of friends send me links that a creator is looking for a storyteller, videographer, or editor. And naturally they're like, dude, this is perfect for you. You should go apply. And I start thinking. And let's say they're looking for an editor. 1. I enjoy doing it and it fulfills and energizes me. Point 2. I like doing creative work and constructing things from the ground up. Numero 3. I appreciate routine and it likely would be a 9-to-5 job. So it probably would align with my body's preferred rhythm. Number 4, and here lies the issue. I want and need full control. I don't want to contribute to someone else's vision or report to someone about what I've done. I enjoy doing this because I can let my creativity go full berserk mode. I want and need to be in an environment where I can get inspired by Transformers and then decide to feature Megan Fox and unnecessary explosions in my video. So you get the point, I'm sticking with my own channel. So although 3 out of 4 points would align, the 4th point misaligning could actually make my job miserable. And worst case scenario, it could lead to me concluding that being an editor or storyteller just isn't for me. But how do I start this internal work, and what if I just love to play video games all day long? Just stick with me, we'll get there. But first, let's go back to 21-year-old me. The boy who had no clue about what the hell he was doing in his life or what he liked. He thought money and making lots of it was the answer to everything. And aside from that, he only knew he enjoyed sports. Furthermore, if I were to reflect, I'd probably say I'd like creating something what was entirely mine. So something where I can call all the shots. So I think a small glimmer of building something from scratch was already present at the time. Did not at all have the capabilities to realize that, but yeah. And I don't know, I think I liked routine. I always went to the gym the same time, so that's something. And 4.4, I only knew that I liked people. That's it. Yeah, I know. Uncertain, unclear, and ambiguous. And your conclusions might be even more elusive. Or you might feel like you don't like anything at all. So what do I do then? It's simple. You keep trying. Why? Well, for this one, I'll just let the GOAT himself explain it instead of me doing an awful Bollywood version of it. Okay?
Don't know what to do, then pick something. Like lots of young people, oh, well, what should I do? I don't know what I should do. I'll wait until I know. It's like, no. Just waiting makes you shrink. It's like, pick something. You think, well, maybe I'd like this. It's okay, fine. What do you know? Maybe you're wrong. Hit it hard. Walk towards it. You get halfway there, you might think I'm on the wrong road. It's like, that's okay, you progressed.
Yeah.
Damn right, man. You're not where you were. And so now the world looks a little different. You think, oh, I should be over there. You would have never figured that out unless you would have walked in error halfway down the road.
And I didn't realize it at the time, but I threw so much shit at the wall that at least one thing had to stick. I started playing guitar. I started my own e-commerce business with my best friend. I started a fitness Instagram. I started investing and doing research in stocks. I even started playing chess every day and actually joined a chess club. I started to read. For almost 60 days, I practiced cubing every morning for hours. I tried meditation and waking up at 5 AM in the morning. And I started a freaking YouTube channel. And the list could go on. And you might say, bro, you've wasted so much time. And my initial response would be that you're goddamn right about that. But are you really though? I wanted to be filthy rich and build my own company. Well, I did build a company, which was, to be honest, doing pretty okay. Then when you go on vacations, you're still involved in work, checking your phone, emails or notifications. And packing orders is really fun at first. But eventually you get used to it and it just becomes packaging orders. Reflecting back on it, it wasn't something I aspired to do. I did not love the work. I only loved the result. And during this time I was trying out meditation, reading books and editing videos, which all let me find out I really like to try and learn new things. Then reading fiction books, which I was so certain about it was an absolute waste of time. Combined with me trying to make the quality of these videos better, learned me that I actually love stories. And although I never looked at myself as a creative person, I love to be able to bring my ideas to life and have full control in the whole process. Then doing 10,000 calorie challenges, waking up early at 5 AM, cold showers or running a marathon. All things that at the time looked so big and so impossible to reach. And me going in headfirst like a total moron learned me that I like to see how far I can physically push my body and see how resilient and strong the human body actually can be. So in summary, when you've done the internal work and maybe or maybe not narrowed down your search just a tiny bit, take action and just try shit. Throw shit at the wall, you will probably fail, but with each failure, like me, you'll learn something about yourself and get at least one step closer to finding your passion. And for step 1, try to really question yourself and dig deep. For example, with the Rubik's Cube challenge. I loved doing it and it was really exciting. But did I really love cubing? Did I really see myself standing next to Max Park on the stage, trash talking the kid to get in his head and win the world championship? Or did I just love the process of making progression, learning something new and mastering it? Alright, so how do I engage or start this internal work? As I mentioned before, don't go on YouTube searching for your answer. Actually, stay walk away from things as YouTube, TikTok or video games. These mediums are designed to occupy your mind, rendering it in a state of numbness where it remains busy but fails to generate any meaningful thoughts or ideas. Therefore, switch your phone to airplane mode, don't touch Netflix, but take distraction-free walks and allow your mind to freely produce any thoughts. And since in our generation it's often being suppressed all day long, it often has a lot of thoughts it wants and needs to get out, which starts the internal work. But I need to mention one crucial point which is so important, so please remember this, and it's quite simple. You are not your thoughts. And what exactly does that mean? It means that you should start seeing the mind, often referred as the voice inside your head, for what it truly is. Just another organ whose sole job is to produce and create thoughts. Think of it like a heart, but instead of pumping blood through your body, its job is to only create thoughts, which it will do whenever it's not suppressed and just feels like it. However, your mind is freaking crazy. And as you probably know, those thoughts it produces aren't always fun and games. It's quite the opposite. Your mind is a complete nut job, which at some moment produces pretty intriguing thoughts like, bro, how cool would it be if you started a YouTube channel? And then not even 1 minute later, it will produce a thought like, you actually think that people would watch you? If you were the last person on earth, I wouldn't even watch. It's actually truly bizarre if you think about it. Which is why I named my own mind Silly Snare. And I treat it as it is. An object that is capable of producing truly brilliant ideas and thoughts, but often seems to favor the negative ones over the positives. But as I said, I'm not those thoughts. And truthfully, I don't blame Silly Snare. Because it's not personal. It's just doing his job to produce thoughts. And he just doesn't seem to care what I think about them. It will just do what it's made for. And if you start associating yourself from your mind and start seeing your mind as this sort of nutty whack job that is on your backseat along for the journey and just likes to talk a lot, it will be so much easier to analyze the thoughts and see which ones are useful and which ones are just complete bullshit. And the exciting part is when your mind produces a thought again like, go grab the donut, we need the donut. You distance yourself from it and you respond something like, shut the fuck up, I decide where we're going and what we're doing. And over time, Silly Snare's negative thoughts will quiet down. Because it knows you don't want to hear that bullshit again. And of course, some thoughts will never stop emerging. Sometimes you just crave a big fat donut. And I think that's just a healthy part of being human. But I'm now on the point that Silly Snare produces a lot of cool and intriguing thoughts. And I actually like his company. Don't get discouraged too fast, because that did take a lot of time and effort. So take that information with you when you start the internal work. But let's move on to the final and crucial point, which is, don't bind one career to your passion. It's nuanced. If, for example, football is your life's passion, often the main goal is becoming a professional football player. And although you could actually become a professional football player, the chances are pretty slim. And when you don't reach that goal, you might say it's all failed and all fucked. But if the sport football is your life's passion, there are so many more opportunities than just turning pro. You could also work at a football club. You could be a commentator, you could be a trainer, you could be a scout, you could organize football events, and the list goes on. There are so many options where you're still involved in the thing you love, combined with getting your actual bills paid. Don't bind your passion just to one career, as the possibilities are often limitless. So if you're that gamer from before who loves a game and prefers to play it all day long, but sucks too much to become a pro, think about all the other jobs available involving the game. I bet you there are more options than you think, and you'll probably meet a lot of similarly minded and cool people along the way. And I say this in a matter of making a career, but for your hobbies the same principles apply. Okay, surprise, I added one more final point which I think is very important. And that is that with your passion there can be different phases and categories. So what I've come to realize is that as an individual, you change as a person mentally and physically. For example, your interests often evolve over time. If you like to do things now, doesn't mean you like doing them in 5 years. So when you decide to pursue a specific path involving one passion of yours, but after really giving it your all, it isn't fulfilling anymore, just adapt. I believe the guiding principle here should be to engage in activities that brings you joy, fulfillment and motivation. So that's what I meant with that there can be different phases. And for the part about categories, I personally sort of categorized my passions. So as explained, this YouTube channel is something so dear to me that I couldn't do this work for anyone else. And it is because because I use this for the creative side in me. It's basically my creative outlet. However, as humans, as you might know, we need things such as food and a place to live. And therefore, we need money. So let's go back to the drawing table. I enjoy routine, building things from scratch, striving for mastery, and coding always made me excited. And I don't mind reporting to a senior dev. He knows a shit ton more than me, so I'd say it's even a good thing that someone looks at my code and then totally shits on it. So after looking at those results of the internal work, I realized I could align a lot of aspects with software development. And even though it lacks the creative desire I have, it would be a great career to pursue just to pay the bills. The point is that some things in the real world will check all the boxes, just except one. Coding for a boss lacks the creativity aspect, and my passion lacks the money to live aspect. But that's okay. You can divide your desires in different categories and eventually get all your desires checked off. And sometimes the job you need in order to check off all your desires is really far away. But please don't let perfect be the enemy of great. If you're currently working at a job where you hate everything and it's a 2 out of 10, a 5 out of 10 job is a great step forward. And then after gaining some experience, you gradually move to a 6.5 out of 10 job. And you just go on like that. So I eventually defined these categories for myself. And as you can see, not in one individual category are all my boxes checked off. So like me, you can also have different pursuits or categories that eventually will check off all the desires you have as a person. So just don't forget that. And it may seem I got my life all figured out, but I don't. I'm not delusional. I'm a walking mess myself, and that's why we can relate to each other. But this sort of framework, whatever you call it, did have a profound impact on me, and I really wanted to share it with you all, combined with my own experiences to give the theory some real life examples and explain in a fun way. And yeah, that's the video, I think. So if you're still watching, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and as always, I see you all in the next one. Peace!